Hi, this is Nikki from Little Blue Artworks, and welcome to the Needle Felt A Christmas Gnome tutorial. To start our project today, we're going to have a needle felting pad out here and our 3 needle felting needles. If you're using the needles from my kits, you'll find 3 inside. I've got one color coded in green. This is the size 32 and it's the size large. And then I've got a medium size needle here, color coded in pink. And this is a gauge 36. And then a gauge 38. This is color coded in red and it's a size small. If you've never needle felted before, let's have a look quickly at the needle felting needle up close. You can see the needle has a very sharp point and it's triangular in shape, and each side of that triangle is 3 small barbs, and those barbs face down towards the point of the needle, so there's 9 altogether. As you push the sharp end of the needle through the fibres of the wool, these barbs begin to hook onto the wool and mat them together, and repeatedly doing this felts them together, and this is the felting process. Right, to start our tutorial today, we're going to start with some core wool. I've got rather a lot here. This is around about 30 grams of core wool. And what I'm going to do is just flatten that down on the table and then start rolling it up. I'm going to roll it around about halfway, and then I'm going to take around about 1/3 of it. So where my finger is here, that's around about 1/3. And I'm just going to fold that up over my finger and then continue to roll that. So it's going to have a larger, bulkier side to it. And then one side that's just going to taper off into a point. So we're going to needle felt that together. Just going to get my felting mat over here. And holding that down, I'm going to use my large size needle and just start to push that through the fibres. Now because we're doing something large, this is going to take a little bit more time to felt. So I'm just roughly stabbing that all over until that begins to hold. Now I've got a double needle holder here, which I just made myself. This is with 2 medium-sized needles, and I've just put some polymer clay around the 2 of them there to make a handle. And this is just going to speed up my process a little bit, but you can still carry on with the 1 needle if that's what you have. And once that's needle felted on one side, you can then turn over to the other side, and we're just going to needle felt this part down too. Now we're going to do the other side of it so it doesn't become too flat. I'm going to do the left and the right side. Now we've got 4 sides covered. We don't want it to become too square and have lumps sticking up like this. So I'm just going to needle felt it up and down, and then turn it. And then needle felt that up and down, and just keep turning and felting up and down until you've got a nice smooth surface there. Now we've got that fairly smooth all over. We're going to start felting this part here, which is going to be the bottom of our gnome. And we're just going to felt straight on like this so that it's got a bit of a flat bottom. So I'm not going to curve around this way like we do to round things off. I'm just going to come in straight flat this way with the felting needles. This will give it a nice flat felted bottom. You can even hold it this way to get a really good angle there for you to felt down. Just be very careful of your hand as you're felting down this way. I'm just going to test that to see if that's standing up on its own okay. Yes, and we've got a nice steady balance there. So all that's left to do is this side here, which we want to taper off into a bit of a point. So I'm just pulling the fibres up and together and kind of squishing that into the shape that I want. And then we're just going to start needle felting that down on the felting mat all the way to the end and back. And I'm just going to turn and felt just as before. Because there's less wool on this side, this will begin to shape into a bit of a point. So now we've got that into a bit more of a point. It's all tapering off from the flat bottom up into the top here. I'm just going to roll that between my hands, and that's just going to give it an extra little bit of felting there and smooth it down a little bit as well. You can even twist the top a little bit if you want to. And that helps that shape into a bit more of a point. So now we've got the right shape there. Should be standing up on its own. If not, just go ahead and give it another little bit of felting in the bottom until you've got that standing in the right shape. And there we go. So now we've got our core wool all felted together. All we need to do now is add some lovely colour. So we're going to start with adding some red for a nice Christmassy feel to our gnome. I have about 10 grams here of some carded red batting wool. I'm going to take a small amount, say 1/4 of that, and pop it aside for later. So we're going to put around about 7 grams to one side and 3 to 4 grams on the other side. So about 1/4. And then we're going to start colouring with the 7 grams here. Right, so I've got my red carded wool here. So I'm going to cover up the entire thing apart from the bottom. You can cover the bottom if you want to. That's completely optional, but I'm just going to leave mine with the core wool on the bottom. So I'm going to start just taking off a bit of the carded wool at a time, spreading that out, and I'm just going to attach it on to the core. I'm going to use my felting mat just for stability there. And you can either use your large or your medium felting needle for this part. So I'm just felting through the red wool straight into the core to attach it. Nice and easy. And I'm just going to do this all over. And I'll speed this part up. We've got that all nicely covered. I'm just going to give that a little bit of a roll in my hands. That's just going to help smooth out the fibres on the surface of our little gnome. And he should be standing up on his own accord. Okay. And if you find any little bare patches, you can just go ahead and make a little patch of wool and then felt that on roughly. And that will hide up that little naked area. And just a tip when you're going to colour the top of your gnome's hat here, rather than stabbing right the way through, which is going to end up pushing the core wool through the other side and giving you a kind of mixture of the core wool and the red wool, just give it little taps instead. Once you've got the structure there sorted and you're just colouring, you're just going to give it little taps rather than pushing the needle all the way through just to colour that. And you may need to go over that a few times with the red wool just to get that really nicely coloured. So now we're going to do a bit of shaping on our gnome now that we've coloured him in. So what we're going to do is, because he's wearing a hat, we want it to look like the hat is a little bit larger than the head itself. So we're going to come around about between 1/4 and 1/3 of the way up. And I'm going to use my large felting needle and just start felting a groove all the way around. So you can see the line there, that's between 1/4 and 1/3 somewhere, roughly. And that's going to be the bottom of the hat. So I'm just going to go all the way around And you could mark out where you're going before you actually go, just to make sure you don't have a squint hat happening. So I've given myself some guide marks to take the line to the beginning of the same place. Now we're going to take down the shape a little bit. So I want to felt down just under the brim of the hat here and take this down in size so that the hat sticks out that little bit bigger than the rest of the gnome on the bottom there. So I'm just felting around about an inch down from that line to flatten that out a little bit, and then turn it and felt it and turn it and felt it. Okay, so now we've got that shape nicely. We're just going to add on another 3 grams, and if you've got any leftover wool, just put that together. We're going to add on another 3 grams here of red wool just around the very bottom of the hat there to make that come out even further. So I'm just going to take my 3 grams and kind of pull that into a bit of a line. And see if we can make that come all the way around, like so. And then I'm just going to needle felt that on. I'm just using my large needle, which I've used so far to do everything, because it's a little bit of a bigger project than what we usually do, and we can get away with just using our large needle. Right, now that's felted down, we've got a little bit of a lip happening there, which is what we want. I'm just going to further push that up with my thumbs. So there we go, we've got a nice rim to our hat there. And the next thing we're going to add is a lovely big bushy beard. Now I've got some lovely grey carded wool here. This is a nice light grey that's got a mixture of light greys and mid greys in there, which gives it a nice natural feel. So I'm just going to take off a good pinch of that. I'm going to start this with making the beard. So decide which is going to be the front part, maybe the prettiest part you're going to pick for the front of your gnome. And I'm just going to take that beard, and because it's quite long, I'm just going to fold that over my thumb there. And I've got a shorter piece here, so I'm just going to fold that over this way and put that fold just under the rim of the hat there. I'm going to needle felt that on, just using my large needle again. And if you need to make your beard any larger, just repeat that step there. If you want to make it wider, I'm just going to add on a little bit more there on that side. And there we go, got that coming down nicely. So that's the beard side of our little gnome. Now we're just going to do the rest under here with a little bit of hair. So I'm going to take another length there, but instead of coming down this way, I'm going to go around this way. And I'm just going to tease that out into a little bit more of a length to see if we can get that going all the way around both sides. If not, you can always add on some. So I'm going to start with this side here, right under the brim again. And I'm not needle felting it all down. I'm leaving that to have wispy bits coming down like so. Just needle felting right under the rim of the hat. And you can see I need a little bit extra there. Just adding a little bit in between the hair and the beard there to come down. So I've got a kind of medium size piece of wool just to blend those two parts in together. And this part's facing down the way, and I'm just teasing that out with my needle there, as well as felting it in. And it just gives it a little bit more of a gradual look into that beardy bit. And there we go, that's his beard on and his hair all the way around. So next we're going to add on a lovely big nose to our gnome. So I have here a good pinch of some fleshy kind of coloured wool here, and this again is carded batting wool, so it's easy to felt with. And I'm just going to see how big a nose I get with this much here. All I'm going to do is just wrap that up into a little bit of a ball by folding it under my thumb there, and just tucking it under and then turning it and tucking it under and turning it until we get all the way round. And then this part there would be hidden away underneath. And then I'm just going to pop that underneath the very rim of the hat there, and we've got a nice big nose. Now if you want a smaller nose, you can just take off some of the wool and just do that step again. And if you're quite happy with that size of nose, it will come down a little bit in size once you start felting it in to attach. But I'm just going to hold that on as securely as I can using my large felting needle. I'm just going to start coming in at the sides. And I'm going through the very bottom of the wool of the nose right into the gnome itself on both sides there. And then I'm going to come round in the top, right through the nose, on the side of the nose there, at the top of the nose. And then I'm going to do the very bottom here. Just going to tuck that under a little bit more. And careful of your fingers. You felt that in nicely. Right through the bottom of the nose into the beardy part of the gnome. And you can see that's already come down in size a bit. I'm just going to needle felt that even more on to attach. And I'm just pushing that in as I do so. And there we go. Just going to pull out the rim of the hat a little bit more so that it's sitting on top of the nose like that. And we've got a lovely little gnome nose poking out there. And isn't he looking adorable already? Now you've got two options there. You can either leave your gnome like this, or you can decorate it. I'm going to decorate mine with some little white polka dots so that it looks a little bit like a mushroom gnome. So we've got something a little bit Christmassy and a little bit autumny kind of mixed together, and that's what I'm going to do all over his hat there. You could always put on some ribbon, or you could needle felt some other colours on if you like, or you could just leave him exactly how he is because he's just awesome, exactly like this as well. But I'm going to add on some little white polka dots. So I've got some white carded batting here, and I'm just going to take off one little pinch at a time, and I'm just going to start tucking that under my thumb just like we did with the nose to make a small dot. That'll make a small circle, turn it over the other way. And I'm just going to place that somewhere random on my hat. And then with my medium-sized needle, I'm just going to go around the outside of the dot to attach it on. You can also go through the middle just to flatten that out. There's one little polka dot. So I'm just going to do this all the way over the hat, on the other side as well. I'm just placing them in random places, and I'm going to try and make it so that the dots get smaller as they go nearer the top of the hat there. So the bigger dots right at the bottom first, and I'll speed this part up. There we go guys, that's our gnome all covered in some polka dots, looking quite toadstooly, so a little bit autumny, and with the red also a little bit Christmassy too, so he's good for 2 whole seasons there to decorate your home with. And you can either leave him with a nice big pointed hat like so, or you can have him looking like this one here who's got his hat pointed over. I'll show you how to do that next, but this is completely optional and up to yourselves how you want to present your lovely gnome. So for this look, all I'm going to do is just bend this over my thumb and have that coming down into a bit of a bend. And then I'm going to hold that, and with my large felting needle, I'm just going to start felting through there, being careful of my thumb, through that hat through the top of the hat and right into the bulk of the hat so that it's attached together. So you can see that pinged up because it's not been attached properly. So I'm just going to go through there again, and I'm really going to needle felt that on so that it's got that bend happening and is attached on, that hat is attached on to itself. And there we go. So that's it now into a little bit of a bend there. And you could decorate yours further. You could put some ribbons around him. You could even put a little bell on the bottom there. However you want to decorate your gnome. But he's a lovely addition to the felting family, and he's got a lovely friend there to keep him company. So now they're going to sit on my mantelpiece all ready for Christmas. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. If you'd like to try any of my other tutorials, you can find them on my website at littleblueartworks.com. You can also find kits and taster mini kits to try, as well as some online workshops and in-person workshops that I do. And you can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube and TikTok. Thanks for watching.